Hi, I'm Lynnea.
And I'm Dan.
And this is
Dusted or Busted.
So this week, we come back into the workroom after Jaidynn's elimination, and not a whole lot happens. A lot of people are upset that Trixie is back in the race, particularly Miss Fame.
The mini challenge was the reading mini challenge, and not a whole lot to say there. They lined up. There were some pretty good reads. Trixie clearly was the winner. She brought up Violet stealing Sharon Needle's crown. Ginger had a couple good ones. Katya had some good ones. Violet, surprisingly, had some good ones. And to no one's surprise, Miss Fame tanked at this challenge.
She was definitely my most busted
Same
of
here.
the mini challenge. And I think my most dusted, I mean, Trixie was great, but I will go with Katya. Because I thought her line about Violet with the, you keep training those corsets, pretty soon your waist size will be lower than your IQ. That was one of my favorite reads of the whole thing. So she was my most dusted.
My most dusted was Trixie. I thought she went there, and I'm glad she did. And I wish they would have talked about it more in the episode.
Yeah, I thought they were going to bring that up then more later, but they didn't. And then one of my other absolute favorite parts from the mini challenge was when Trixie was announced as the winner, and RuPaul goes, "You've won a $500 gift card from Sequin Queen." And Violet, they cut to her, and she goes, "Thank God." And it was one of those moments where if you blink, you miss it, but I thought it was really funny.
They split up into groups, and they have to make musical adaptations of famous John Waters scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So Katya and Kennedy have the Cha-Cha Heels scene from Female Troubles, and Miss Fame, Pearl, and Violet have the dog poo eating scene from Pink Flamingos, and Trixie and Ginger have the egg scene from Pink Flamingos. So they're filming their screen tests, and the first group is Kennedy and Katya doing Female Troubles. And Lucian and Michelle are both there to judge.
My two favorite people in the whole world. I thought that this screen test was hilarious. And
I thought so too.
They both knew what they were doing. Kennedy stumbled on some of her lines towards the end, and they did the whole thing where she's supposed to throw the Christmas tree down, and she didn't. And then they didn't. It seemed like they didn't have a chance to go back and redo it, which was clearly false. But even in the screen test, like Michelle and Lucian were just like rolling. Yeah. It was so funny, and so I knew that they were going to do really well.
They were really prepared, and what I really liked about it is that Kennedy is playing the Divine character, and Divine is over the top, and Kennedy was pretty good at that. But Katya took this role that could have been nothing, and she really sold it with the clothes and the makeup and the characterizations. Katya was perfect.
And that voice and her antics, oh my god.
With crotchless panties
and then we go to Ginger and Trixie, who I thought they also did a good job.
They did a good job.
But coming right after Katya and Kennedy, who were so over the top, I felt like they could have even done more. And Ginger was definitely the star of that one.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel like her performance matched up to Katya's. It just didn't make me laugh as much. And the other thing is we didn't really get to see a lot of their particular screen test. I thought they were kind of overshadowed a little bit, and they just kind of skipped over them. I
thought Trixie just kind of got, and this isn't supposed to be a read, Trixie just kind of got swallowed whole by Ginger.
Yeah. But she still did a really good job.
She did a good job. She just didn't stand out in any way. And then the last group was Pearl, Violet, and Miss Fame.
And that was a hot mess.
Doing the dog do scene.
Oh, it was horrible. Nobody knew their lines. Nobody really knew what they were supposed to be doing. I didn't think any of the looks really embodied
Violet's was terrible.
John Waters. People often mistake low budget for just bad. And that I think it's two different things. And there's a way to, like with Katya, I mean, she looks bad, but it's in the John Waters way. It's not just, let's just throw something together that looks sloppy and terrible.
Miss Fame was really true to like an evil Divine look, but at the same time, like, and it's the same critique that she's gotten. She's so in her head, and she overthinks so many things that you could see it in the makeup, I thought, at least, as a fan of Divine.
Yep. We really didn't see much of their screen test in terms of like it getting any better. They just kept showing the parts that were really, really horrible. And Michelle just goes, well, we'll see what John Waters thinks. So before they go to the runway, they're in the workroom getting ready for that. And Fame, she has clearly had it, and I think she was being really shady. And the other thing I noticed was that Trixie was really getting picked on. And I hate to, we don't like to throw around the word bully, but because she is the queen who returned, she's got this target on her back, and I felt like everybody was making little jabs at her, but especially Miss Fame. And Trixie even said it. She was like, well, in history, this is what happens. You come back and you go home first. So she's like, I have to do everything in my power to not do that. Otherwise, what's the point? Which is what we've been saying all along.
Miss Fame was also coming for Pearl.
Yes. She was coming for everybody because she's so insecure and in her own head that she can't just, focus on herself.
I feel like also, we kind of touched on it last week, is that she didn't win the makeover challenge. I think she's kind of...
She's still miffed about that.
First of all, she's miffed about it, and then she's kind of gotten into her own head. What else is she going to excel at? Clearly nothing. So the runway was worst dress ever, which is kind of open-ended and hard to judge because are you going for the ugliest look? Or are you going for the prettiest of the ugly dresses? Or are you looking for, who took the ugliest dress and made it the prettiest?
Right, that was something I was wondering, too, was because, looking back at Alaska's look where she took saran wrap but made it very couture.
Elegant, yeah.
So I was wondering if it was going to be the best of the worst or the worst of the worst was going to come out on top.
For the purpose of my Dusted and Busted, I chose who had the ugliest and turned it into the most high fashion. So if you started with a really ugly dress but you made it just a little less ugly, then no. But if you had the ugliest dress and you made it really pretty...
See, and I did the opposite. I did who, fully committed to the ugly look. And who, took the dress, took the hair, took everything, and just, basically deconstructed it to the ugliest thing ever. So that's going to differ a lot. Kennedy came down the runway
church lady.
As the old church lady, which was hilarious. I'm not going to say as usual because she's a pageant girl, but there was a concept behind it. There was a story. Katya came down
with that crochet
in that yellow crochet number with those suede brown boots and that thirsty ass auburn hair. Oh my god.
I would wear that. I thought that was fierce. I would wear that.
Oh my god. And then Ginger
with that green polka dot.
With the flowers and the ruffles, and I knew Michelle was gonna come for her for that because it's green. Trixie
in that 80s prom dress,
which was again that had a concept behind it. It's when you open up your yearbook from 20 years ago and think, oh god, why did I wear that? Yeah. So that was funny. Pearl came down in this black and white dress that had the little googly eyes all over it.
And then she did her makeup like
Trixie. And she did look like a plastic doll because when she moves she's pretty robotic, and she had that sleek blonde ponytail.
Pearl looked the best on the runway, but she wasn't my most busted.
And then
Violet
with that little clown caftan. Oh my god.
Carson said it's not the pride flag, it's the shame flag. And last but not least, Miss Fame. And
I wrote garbage bag tent.
That's another thing that she kind of overthought, because she's like, well, it's shapeless, and that's going to be ugly. And then she styled it really beautifully. Right.
And, from the neck up, that's her normal look. She was painted beautifully. She had the jewels on her face. Her hair was sleek. All of that. So, I think she did what you were saying, is she tried to, elevate that. But, hers just didn't really deliver.
So who was your most dusted of the runway?
Dusted? Katya. It's gotta be Katya. Oh my god. That whole look, it was perfection in the worst way.
Mine was Violet.
Really?
I loved that look, and I love that it was kind of clowny and cartoony, and it's so out of the ordinary for Violet.
Yeah, hers was good too, but Katya's, that I can't get it out of my head. It was hilarious.
What about your most busted?
I would say Ginger, actually.
Really?
And the only reason... Okay, I thought the dress was ugly, because it was. But it seemed like it's something that she would wear for a different runway challenge if she missed the mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She still looked like she was put together, and I think she was doing the same thing as Fame. She was trying to, like, upcycle a horrible dress into something new and still, like, make it look good, or just, like, maybe the focus was just the dress. But to me, I read it as you could have worn that for a different challenge, and, like, it looked like she just missed the mark.
Mm-hmm. I was torn, but then after listening to what you said in your reasons for Ginger, I was torn between Fame and Trixie.
Okay.
I'm going to say Miss Fame, because like you said, she, like, it's if she missed the mark, and when I look at it, I wasn't getting worst dress ever.
Right.
When I look at Trixie, even though I don't think she did enough with the ugly dress, I still get, like, worst dress ever from it.
So after they come down the runway, they show the final cuts of their screen tests. And they showed Cha-Cha Heels first, which, as we've said before, absolute perfection in every way. And you see that what they showed in the screen test is very different than the final cuts. It's kind of like when they did the Jet Set Airlines.
Yeah.
Even if a rehearsal goes poorly, they can do things to make it work. And they want to show you the whole, like, oh no, I think it's going to be bad. And so with Cha-Cha Heels, we saw that Kennedy did throw the tree down at the end, and it was just so over the top, and I could not stop laughing. And then we have Trixie and Ginger, which was another one that at first you didn't think was maybe going to be as good as it was, and then it ended up being just fine. And coming off of Cha-Cha Heels,
yeah.
I mean, it just didn't measure up to that, I didn't think. In Cha-Cha Heels, you had two queens who both went way over the top, and in Eggs, only one of them really went over the top.
And I haven't seen Female Trouble, but I have seen Pink Flamingos, and Lucian said it. She looked like Edith Massey. Mm-hmm. Although I will admit, I have been quoting Cha-Cha Heels, like, all day, every day.
And the last one we saw was Pooh, which is Fame, Violet, and Pearl. It was really dumb, but it was a lot better than what the screen test showed. Mm-hmm. So they must have been able to do something with it. I mean, it wasn't as terrible as they made it out to be, but it was still pretty bad. I just thought it was so refreshing to have judges who weren't just, like, bickering, and they had good things to say, and I agreed with all of it, and the judging actually mattered this week.
Right.
Like, what they said in their little judging thing when they talk about all the different queens when they leave the runway actually matched up with then what happened with, like, the lip sync and who went home. And it was just really nice to not have that drama. And I felt like this week the panel was actually quite balanced. And we had Carson back, thank God. And then we had John Waters, who had really good things to say.
He's been there, done that with all of this.
Right. And I mean, that's the other thing, too, is with him, it could have been weird because it's his own work that he's, like, critiquing. But I thought he did that really well. And Demi Lovato was great.
Usually when there are younger, like, I don't want to sound sexist, but, like, younger female people on the judging panel, they usually don't have good things to say or anything that adds value. Like, I think back to, like, Jessica Alba.
Right.
And all she did was talk about her cleaning products. But Demi Lovato, I thought, added something.
Right. RuPaul asked the question of who deserves to go home.
I love when he asks that question.
And 5 of the queens said Miss Fame. 1 person said Trixie, and that was Violet. And 1 person said Pearl, and that was Fame. And in previous years, this question, it doesn't seem like it actually matters.
This year, it seems like it does.
I always think back to Miss Tyra Sanchez when everybody said that she should go home, and then she didn't. I think she won that challenge.
She won that challenge.
Because it was
and she deserved to. I thought it was really fair that Violet said Trixie, because it didn't seem like she was just saying it to get her kicked out. Right. She said she deserves to be under much more scrutiny because she's missed all these challenges. And I think that's fair.
I think that's true, but even under that extra scrutiny, she still did well. So on to the lip sync, it was Fame versus Pearl.
To a Demi Lovato song.
Of course. And Pearl kind of did her normal, like, robotic moves that we've seen in our research and just other stuff that she does. But I still think she embodied the spirit of the song way more than Miss Fame. And
there are a lot of people who will disagree with that, but I think she nailed it.
Mm-hmm. I did think it was interesting that it was a group challenge in the sense that they were in pairs and then one trio. And they were judged as individuals, and yet an entire team ended up in the bottom 3.
Yeah, wow. Well, they also got to pick their group, so obviously Katya and Kennedy were going to pick each other.
Right. I just thought that was something noteworthy.
Well, now that Miss Fame is gone, I feel like any other sort of challenge that they would do in groups is going to be a lot less stressful because she's always overthinking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And even
she's the one that nobody wants to get paired with.
Even when they were rehearsing, she's like, well, you're saying it like this, and we should be saying it like this because our voices sound so similar. And it's like, they're not going to be looking for shit like that.
No. She focuses on all the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's focusing on, like, really detailed stuff before they even know their lines. There's kind of a sequential thing that needs to happen.
Even in the Tan With You thing, she was trying to choreograph them, and even Pearl said, you're not a dancer performer. Why are you trying to choreograph this?
Exactly. Miss Fame went home, she's gone, and I feel like all the queens feel this negativity kind of lift a little bit.
Which is weird because she's always that, like, hippie love power shit. You and I have differing opinions on Untucked.
I thought there were so many funny little things that happened this Untucked. So Miss Fame, she was saying, well, maybe my dress isn't ugly. And I was like, well, but your personality is.
Oh, God.
So that part of it was annoying. I totally get that. One of my favorite moments was they all walk in and it is just dead quiet. Nobody's talking. It's just they all shuffle and sit down. And Kennedy goes, well, that was a nice funeral. So it was little things like that interjected through that I thought was funny. And then I wrote a lot of stuff down, but Fame was kind of an emotional wreck the whole time. Like, she started calling people out, and then she was the one who started just crying. I couldn't get over that. When Katya did the impression of the Cowardly Lion, I lost it. She's doing hilarious. The voice and falling off the chair, and she's just going on with her antics, and Pearl looks at her and goes, and she's been sober for 1.5 years. So I thought that was a really funny moment. And then they go out for their smoke break.
That's my favorite part of every episode, is the smoke break. Ginger
and Katya are, like, chatting, and Ginger goes, can we just all agree that if Fame doesn't lip sync tonight? And Katya jumps in, and she goes, well, we kill her.
They were talking about how thirsty that wig was. It's like, you stick a tip in that puddle.
And then Sleek Bob. So I just thought it was funny to see them interact that way. And then everybody kind of, like, scatters. And there's Kennedy.
And Kennedy is on the couch.
Alone. She's on the couch. She's fallen asleep. She's got her dress over her head. Her legs spread eagle. And she's wondering where everybody's going. And
she goes, you left me with boring people.
Oh, my God.
Something
about that was really entertaining to me.
I thought this Untucked was really boring, actually.
I don't know.
Even Kennedy was falling asleep during it.
I thought that the atmosphere in the room was probably pretty boring for them, but as a viewer, seeing them kind of scatter off and just have their own little conversations and their own little things that they're doing, I thought it was really funny. And I liked that it wasn't about the central drama of everybody in the room, and I don't know. I thought it was one of the most entertaining smoke breaks I've ever seen. One of my favorite moments was when John Waters came in and said hello to all of them, and I just thought that was really sweet because so many of these queens really look up to him, and that was really cool to see. A quote of the week. What was yours?
Mine comes from the judges' deliberation. They were talking about Pearl, Violet, and Miss Fame's scene, and how none of them stood out. And Michelle says, the breakout star of that scene was the dog.
That was funny. My quote of the week comes from the Runway, and it's about a paragraph. So let me just read this to you. It comes from Katya. She's come down the runway in her little crocheted number. And she goes, if Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio barely survived a meth lab explosion, and then she was cast in a porno musical of Raggedy Ann, that is what I'm giving you.
Where does she come up with these things?
She certainly has a way with words.
Good Lord. Dusted and busted of the week.
Okay, my dusted of the week has got to be Katya.
Same here.
She was my most dusted on the runway, and in the mini challenge, and in the main challenge, and she was my quote of the week. That's,
right. I thought she was the best in the videos, too.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your most busted of the week?
It's got to be Fame.
Me
because
too.
She was the worst of everything.
She was the worst of everything.
She was the worst in the mini challenge. She was the worst in the main challenge. She was the worst on the runway. And she didn't say anything funny. She didn't even appear in Untucked. Her thing for Untucked was that she left the set, and then when Untucked was over, she came back. So it's got to be Fame.
So, that is all that we have to say about the John Waters. Here's John Waters. He's been in the background of every single one of our videos. John Waters.
There he is in all of his
mustachioed glory.
So as you can tell, this week we do not really have a drink for Miss Fame. We figured that because she's sober, making an alcoholic drink in her honor would be kind of
disrespectful,
out of place. Dan is drinking tea though, because as you can probably tell, he's got a bit of a cold. He needs to keep the vocal cords lubricated. So he's drinking his tea. I'm not having anything. And unusually, we're filming in the middle of the afternoon. So
it's Friday.
It's
finals week. I had a show on Tuesday. We got so sidetracked this week.
So we're getting this one out to you a little bit later. And then the other thing we want to talk about was predictions, because this will probably be our last episode. We're both moving out in a couple days, and we probably won't see each other for a while. Class reunion.
Yeah.
So we want to do the top 3 just so that we can kind of wrap up through the end of this season anyway. And my top 3 predictions would be Pearl, Katya, and Kennedy. But I could possibly see Violet instead of Pearl.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is really different from mine.
Yep.
My top 3 that I am predicting is Ginger, Katya, and Kennedy Davenport.
Okay, well, we both agree that Katya Kennedy,
yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like
I want Pearl and Violet in there more than I want Ginger and Kennedy in there. But
yeah. And if Katya wins this whole thing, I will not be mad.
Right.
Right now, that is who I'm rooting for. Although, it'd be cool to see Trixie win, because we talked about how when someone leaves and they come back, let's bring them back for a reason.
And she did earn her spot back in.
Right. Those would be my picks. But I would love to see Katya win or Trixie. I just think if Katya won, she is so unlike any other winner we've ever had. She is completely out of left field.
She's bonkers.
She is absolutely crazy. She is insane.
If my top 3 is the actual top 3, then I would be probably Team Ginger, actually. The last thing we should talk about, I guess, is future episodes, possibly.
Yes. So as we are distanced, we have read your comments. Thank you so much for your support, by the way. You all are coming out of the woodwork now. But we've read your comments, and it seems like the Google Hangout thing is going to be a good option. Neither one of us really know that much about it. We use Google for a lot of things. We use Google Docs for our research, and we have the Google account so that we can have our YouTube account. But we're going to look into doing that. I'm going to do some more research on how that works and how to film that, or if we should do it live or whatever. So specific to Google Hangouts, if you have any tips or advice or just a quick little this is how you should do that, that would be greatly appreciated. And we will do everything in our power to get the videos coming to you. It'll kind of depend on our schedules once we leave school, if we can find a time to both log on and do that and film it and edit it and get it uploaded. So hopefully we'll be with you through the end of this season and possibly into future seasons. But if not, it's been a lot of fun making all of these reviews for the past year and a half. And we always love hearing from you. So we'll keep in touch via Twitter at the very least. So follow us and you'll be sure to hear more from the Heathers.
Like my drag page on Facebook, goddammit. Put a link in there.
So with that, we are signing off.
Signing off, yes. Bye.
Bye.